Good fighters capitalise on mistakes. Great fighters make you make mistakes. A good fighter is reactive, taking advantage of errors their opponent makes. A great fighter is proactive, forcing their opponent into situations where mistakes are inevitable. Hello Pro Strikers, today we'll look at some of the effective tactics you can use to counterfight in Muay Thai, Kickboxing and MMA and stay a step ahead of your opponent. So, what is counterfighting? Counterfighting is a defensive tactic where a fighter uses their opponent's movements and tactics to create openings for their own strikes. It's a strategic approach that aims to disrupt the opponent's rhythm, conserve energy, and inflict damage by capitalising on their blunders. Countering is an art form and it requires excellent reaction time. However, some techniques require less speed and athleticism than others. With good positioning, the right methods and solid tactics, you can be more than capable of becoming a proficient counterfighter. First, let's look at the main two counterfighting styles. Pressure counterfighting. Pressure counterfighting is a strategic approach that involves walking down the opponent, cutting off their escape routes and backing them into the ropes or cage wall. The goal is to shrink their space, limit their options and provoke predictable reactions, creating high percentage opportunities to counter during forced exchanges. Back foot counterfighting. Back foot counterfighting is a tactical style built around retreating to create space and draw the opponents in. The goal is to bait them into overcommitting, then intercept their advance with a well-timed counter, whether through footwork, a reactive defence like a slip or parry, or an intercepting strike that exploits their forward momentum. The best of both. The elite counterfighters can blend both strategies. They know when to sit back and let an over-aggressive opponent walk onto a shot, and they know when they can push forward and apply pressure, forcing their opponent into an exchange they don't necessarily want to have. Nadaka Yoshinari is the perfect example of an elite counterfighter that can do it all, and Pro Striking has a breakdown dedicated to his style on the channel.
Bell over rock, he pump fakes things up, he's not just parrying down. There's not a lot you haven't seen.
Now we've defined a counterfighter, let's look at the technical methods we can use to create counter opportunities. Footwork. The footwork of a pressure counterfighter is deliberate and calculated. They creep forward to the edge of striking range using low risk, long range attacks like jabs, low kicks and body kicks to provoke a reaction. It's about probing from distance. The ultimate objective is to herd the opponent towards the ropes or cage wall where their movements become limited and their options shrink. Cutting off the ring effectively is essential here, as it allows the pressure fighter to control the space and dictate the terms of the exchange. This is the essence of ring generalship, forcing the opponent to fight when they'd rather not. A back foot counterfighter will predominantly work by creeping backwards and allowing the opponent to step into the space. The important detail to note with this approach is the counterfighter must remain in a good stance to be ready to capitalise if the opponent leads. Knowing where you are in relation to both the ring and your opponent and then moving to a location under terms that suit you is the fight IQ required to be an elite professional fighter. Positional awareness matched with perfect execution that starts at the feet. Pendulum footwork. Pendulum footwork in fighting, especially boxing, is a rhythmic, bouncing movement stepping in and out of range where a fighter shifts their weight back and forth, mimicking a pendulum swing. It is a brilliant way to bait an opponent's lead and create an opportunity to counter. This method, often seen in amateur boxing and the Soviet style, gives the opponent a false sense of distance. When stepping in, the aim is to tempt the opponent to take a swing and hit thin air as you are already stepping back out to distance. If the opponent overextends, then this offers the window for a quick counter strike. Countering the counter is like playing 4D chess, and the best counterfighters live for it, as it's a surefire way to break down and demoralise the opponent. God, just imagine how pissed you'd be if you'd had to take a swig of alcohol every time Pro Striking said counter in this video. I digress. Let's move on to the next category, blocking. Blocking is the cornerstone of a good defence. At some point in any fight, there will be a moment where blocking is the safest option.
He's going to dig into the well of an intestinal fortitude, and the elbows down.
Here comes the zombie.
Oh, he caught him! The edge is back! He drops it! He drops it! He drops it! Full time with a chicken dead!
When done correctly, blocking offers the defender the chance to collect data about their opponent whilst mitigating damage. And when looking to counter, you need to be able to build a picture of the opponent's timing and defensive holes. A block doesn't require much in the way of footwork, as the defender will usually be planted to absorb the blows effectively, with the aim of not being moved. Whether countering from the front or back foot, blocking can be used to defend before quickly launching a counter blow whilst the opponent is still recovering from throwing their own attack, and same side counters can catch the opponent where they are still open. Punch countering is a difficult skill to master in Muay Thai, but it can reward with a big payoff. If the kick is blocked on the arms and countered with a punch, 90% of the time the kicker wins the exchange due to Muay Thai scoring criteria. The punch must cause significant damage, such as wobbling or dropping the opponent, to have been perceived more effective. However, things change when wearing the 4-ounce gloves, as punches are much more devastating. Counter punching can be a very effective way to punish a kicker in the smaller gloves, particularly in a rule set like MMA where all strikes are scored equally, but the technique must be correct. When blocking the kick on the arms, the defender is sitting down into their stance, protecting the ribs with the bicep and tricep, and the elbow is tucked into the side to cushion the torso. The other arm reaches across as a secondary block to help disperse the impact over a bigger surface area. This position is the perfect base to punch from when moving forward. The punch is going in the same direction as the fighter's inertia with the forward momentum. Therefore, this method suits pressure fighters. Parries. The parry is a defensive technique where you deflect an incoming strike away from your body rather than blocking it directly. It involves a quick, subtle movement of your hand or forearm to redirect the attack, creating an opening for a counter-attack. Unlike a block, which aims to stop the strike completely, a parry focuses on redirecting the force and disrupting the opponent's balance. Countering off of a parry takes some skill, and it's more dangerous than blocking as you're opening yourself up. You must predict the opponent's strike correctly and position yourself accordingly to be able to capitalise on an opening with a counter.
Strikes sort of add up. Harrison's got to put that down.
There are endless possibilities to parry and counter, and redirecting kicks is a great way to not only disrupt the kicker's rhythm and momentum, but punish with powerful counter punches.
The PK Sanchez stand out on his back. Goes to the body again with a catch of the kick.
Now let's move on to the trickiest method of counterfighting: evasive counters. An evasive counterattack involves skillfully dodging an opponent's strike and immediately following up with a counter. A reactive defence that relies on slipping, rolling, pulling can be a very taxing method of defending if not paired with other techniques like blocking or parrying, but it offers the best opportunity to counter. The user has to stay in a close enough position to be able to capitalise. It's a surefire way to blindside an opponent, and it's the strikes you don't see coming that hurt the most. Good counterfighters can also set traps. Baiting an opponent with a high guard by presenting them a target to hit, countering them as they throw, is straight out of the elite counterfighters textbook. This goes back to our opening line of good fighters capitalise on mistakes, great fighters make you make mistakes. Counterfighting isn't just a style, it's a mindset. It demands sharp awareness, high fight IQ, and the discipline to stay calm under fire. Whether you're pressuring your opponent into a mistake or luring them in with crafty footwork, the goal remains the same: to make them play your game. By mastering all the tools in the video, footwork, positioning, blocking, parrying, and evasive manoeuvres, you become more than just a reactive fighter. You can become proactive. You dictate the pace, you manipulate the rhythm, you become the fighter that forces errors rather than just punishing them.
Jab to overhand right, nicely done from Nicky. Jab to right hand again from Nicky.
Look to the greats like Israel Adesanya and a modern era phenom like Nadaka Yoshinari, and you'll see that elite counterfighters aren't flashy for the sake of it. They are efficient, intelligent, and devastating. They read the fight like a book, and they write their own ending. Pro strikers don't overlook this lost art. It's easy to watch fights in the 4-ounce gloves where brute force prevails, but it's not the only way. Train your timing, sharpen your eyes, and perfect your positioning. And above all, remember, the one who controls the chaos controls the fight.
Right now, because he's not often in this situation.
Yeah, look, you know.
You and I have been watching him for 20 years.
As always, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this, head over to the Pro Striking Patreon for more in-depth breakdowns and tutorials. There's plenty of positioning and counterfighting strategies over there. Pro Striking appreciates you more than an Israel Adesanya pull counter.
Apple on your head with that jab, Giorgio Petruzzi. He dropped into the